What happens when one of Britain's most beloved actresses walks onto a morning talk show expecting respect, only to be blindsided by a host with an agenda? In just 28 seconds of airtime, a simple question turned into the most uncomfortable moment in daytime television history, and it only took one dismissive comment to send Dame Judi Dench storming off set, leaving Lorraine Kelly speechless and the entire studio in absolute shock. The morning started like any other on the Lorraine Kelly show. The studio lights were bright, the audience was settled in their seats, and the familiar theme music faded as Lorraine Kelly sat behind her desk with that practiced smile she'd perfected over decades of broadcasting. Beside her sat her regular panelists, fashion correspondent Sarah Bennett and entertainment journalist Marcus Thompson, both shuffling their notes and preparing for what they assumed would be another routine celebrity interview. Judi Dench walked onto the set to warm applause. She was there to talk about her latest film project, a period drama that had been generating significant buzz in the industry. She settled into the guest chair, poised and professional as always, offering a genuine smile to the audience and a polite nod to Lorraine. "Dame Judi, wonderful to have you here," Lorraine began, her voice dripping with that particular brand of false enthusiasm that morning show hosts are famous for. "Now, before we get into your new film, I just have to ask about something everyone's been talking about." Judy's expression remained pleasant, but there was a slight shift in her eyes, a wariness that comes from years of dealing with journalists who bury their real questions beneath layers of small talk. "Your age?" Lorraine continued, but leaning forward as if sharing a secret with millions of viewers. "You're 89 years old and still working. Don't you think it's time to, step aside and let the younger actresses have their moment?" The studio went quiet. Sarah Bennett's pen stopped mid-note. Marcus Thompson's eyebrows shot up so fast they nearly left his face. Even the cameraman seemed to freeze. Judi took a slow breath, her composure still intact. "I'm sorry. What exactly are you suggesting?" Lorraine laughed, that tinny laugh that seemed completely disconnected from anything genuinely funny. "Oh, come on, you know what I mean. You've had a marvelous career. Absolutely marvelous. But surely there's a point where one should gracefully bow out. Make room for fresh faces. You can't possibly keep up with the demands of serious acting at your age." "I wasn't aware that talent had an expiration date," Judi replied, her voice steady, but with an edge sharp enough to cut glass. "I'm here to discuss my work, not to be told I'm too old to do it." Sarah Bennett jumped in, clearly trying to smooth things over. "What Lorraine means is—" "I know exactly what Lorraine means," Judi interrupted, her gaze never leaving the host. "She means that because I've reached a certain age, I should simply disappear. That my years of experience somehow make me less valuable rather than more so." Lorraine waved her hand dismissively, that gesture she used whenever someone dared to challenge her on her own show. "You're being overly sensitive. I'm simply saying what everyone's thinking. The film industry is for the young and vibrant. That's just reality." "Reality according to whom?" Judi asked. "According to you? A talk show host who's built her career on interviewing people she clearly has no respect for?" Marcus Thompson shifted uncomfortably in his seat, looking like he wanted to be anywhere else on Earth. "Perhaps we should move on to discussing the actual film," he offered weakly. Lorraine ignored him completely. "I have tremendous respect for what you've done, Dame Judi. Past tense. What you've done. But let's be honest, you're not exactly box office gold anymore, are you? When was the last time you opened a film to real numbers?" The audience gasped. Several people in the front row looked genuinely appalled. Sarah Bennett put her head in her hands. Judi sat up straighter, and anyone who knew her could see the storm building behind those famous eyes. "I've never measured my worth by opening weekend numbers. I measure it by the quality of the work, the truth in the performance, the stories we tell. Concepts that might be foreign to someone who spends their days asking celebrities about their diets and their latest Instagram posts." "Now, hold on," Lorraine said, her voice taking on that dangerous tone of someone who's used to being in control and doesn't like losing it. You came on my show. My show. You don't get to sit there and insult what I do. You invited me on your show to humiliate me, Judi shot back. To suggest I'm past my prime, that I should retire, and that I'm somehow taking opportunities away from younger people simply by continuing to do what I love. What I'm extraordinarily good at, I might add. Sarah Bennett made another attempt at peacekeeping. Dame Judi, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Lorraine was just being Lorraine, Judi said, her voice cutting through the platitudes like a knife. Rude, presumptuous, and utterly lacking in professional courtesy. Lorraine's face flushed red. How dare you? I've been doing this job for 30 years. 30 years! I've interviewed hundreds of people, and I've never been spoken to like this on my own program. Perhaps that's because most of your guests are too polite to tell you the truth, Judi replied. Or perhaps they need you more than I do. I don't need your platform, Lorraine. I don't need your validation or your approval. I certainly don't need to sit here and be patronized by someone who thinks age is something to be ashamed of. Marcus Thompson tried to jump in. Ladies, let's all take a breath and... Don't you ladies me, Judi said, turning to face him. You've been sitting there this entire time saying nothing while your host attacks a guest. Where's your spine? Marcus's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. No words came out. Lorraine slammed her hand on the desk. This is my show. Mine. You don't come in here and tell me how to run things. You don't criticize my panelists. And you certainly don't get to play the victim when I'm asking perfectly reasonable questions. Reasonable? Judi's laugh was sharp and bitter. You call suggesting someone retire because of their age reasonable? You call dismissing decades of acclaimed work as irrelevant reasonable? Tell me, Lorraine, how would you feel if someone suggested you were too old to host this show? That's completely different, Lorraine snapped. I'm the host. I'm in my prime. You're 59 years old, Judi said quietly. By your logic, shouldn't you be stepping aside for someone younger? Someone fresher? Someone who doesn't think it's acceptable to belittle guests on live television? The color drained from Lorraine's face, then rushed back twice as red. You have no right to bring my age into this. But you had every right to bring mine into it? Judi's voice was dangerously calm now. Explain that logic to me. Please. I'm all ears. Sarah Bennett was practically squirming in her seat. I think we need to go to a commercial break. We're not going anywhere, Lorraine hissed. Dame Judi came here to promote her film. So let's talk about the film. Let's talk about how it's a small budget production that most people will never see. Let's talk about how you're playing yet another elderly woman in yet another forgettable period piece. Is that what you want to discuss? The audience was dead silent. The kind of silence that feels like it has weight and substance. Judi stood up slowly, with all the dignity and grace that had made her one of the most respected actresses in the world. She reached up and removed the microphone clipped to her collar, setting it carefully on the chair she'd just vacated. What are you doing? Lorraine demanded. Sit down. We're not finished. Oh, we're quite finished, Judi said. I've spent 70 years in this profession. 70 years. I've worked with the greatest directors, the finest actors, on stages and sets around the world. I've won awards, I've earned respect, and I've done it all with grace and humility. What I have not done and will not do is sit here and allow someone like you to diminish that. Someone like me? Lorraine was standing now too, her voice rising. What's that supposed to mean? Someone like me who's built a successful career? Someone like me who's beloved by millions of viewers? Someone like you who mistakes cruelty for honesty, Judi said. Someone who thinks tearing others down is the same as building yourself up. Someone who's so desperate to remain relevant that you'll say anything, attack anyone, just to get people talking. Marcus Thompson finally found his voice. Dame Judi, Please, I'm sure Lorraine didn't mean... Stop defending her, Judi said, cutting him off. She meant every word. She's mean-spirited and small-minded, and she's built her entire brand on exactly this kind of manufactured controversy. The difference is, most people are too intimidated or too dependent on publicity to call her out on it. Lorraine pointed at the door. If you're going to insult me, you can leave. Right now. Get off my set. I was already leaving, Judi said. But thank you for making it official. It'll make wonderful publicity for you, won't it? Dame Judi Dench storms off Lorraine Kelly show. You'll dine out on this story for months. You're welcome. You arrogant, self-righteous, Lorraine started. Careful, Judi warned. There are cameras rolling, and unlike you, I don't need to burn bridges to stay in the headlines. Bridges? Lorraine scoffed. You think you're so important that burning a bridge with you matters? You're one actress among thousands. You're replaceable. You always have been. Everyone is replaceable, Lorraine, Judi said calmly, including you, especially you, given this performance. This is my show. Lorraine slammed her palm on the desk again. Mine. I've built this from nothing. I've worked my way up through years of hard work and dedication. I don't need some theatrical diva coming in here and trying to make me look bad. I don't need to make you look bad, Judi replied. You're doing a spectacular job of that all by yourself. I'm simply refusing to be your victim while you do it. The audience murmured their agreement. Someone near the front actually said, "Yes," loud enough for everyone to hear. Lorraine's eyes blazed. You people don't understand what it takes to do this job. You sit in your seats for an hour, and you think you know everything about television. You don't. This is harder than it looks. And sometimes you have to ask the tough questions that make people uncomfortable. There's a difference between tough questions and insulting questions, Judi said. A good interviewer knows the difference. You clearly don't. Marcus Thompson shifted in his seat, looking more uncomfortable by the second. Perhaps we could all acknowledge that emotions are running high and... Stop being so weak, Marcus, Lorraine snapped at him. Stop trying to make peace when there's a principle at stake here. I asked a legitimate question about relevance in the modern film industry. You asked me if I should retire because I'm old, Judi corrected. Those are very different things. One is a conversation about the industry. The other is a personal attack disguised as a question. It wasn't personal, Lorraine insisted. It was entirely personal, Judi countered. You made it about my age, my worth, my right to continue working. If that's not personal, I don't know what is. Sarah Bennett was on her feet now, hands up in a pleading gesture. Please, both of you, let's just calm down and talk this through like professionals. Professionals? Judi turned to face Sarah. A professional doesn't ambush guests. A professional doesn't use their platform to demean and belittle. A professional shows respect, even when asking difficult questions. What happened here today had nothing to do with professionalism. Lorraine laughed, but it was a harsh, ugly sound. You're really going to lecture me about professionalism? You, who's throwing a tantrum because I asked you about your age? Grow up, Judi. I'm not the one who needs to grow up, Judi replied. I'm not the one who thinks age is an insult. I'm not the one who's so insecure about getting older that I project that insecurity onto others. That's all you, Lorraine. Every word of this conversation has been about your fears, not mine. My fears? Lorraine's voice went up an octave. This isn't about me, isn't it? Judi tilted her head. You're terrified of aging, terrified of becoming irrelevant. So you strike first. You try to make others feel small so you can feel big. It's textbook, really. Quite sad when you think about it. Marcus Thompson stood up, clearly hoping his physical presence might somehow diffuse the situation. Ladies, the audience is right here. We're live. Maybe we should all take a step back. The audience deserves to see this, Judi said, addressing the crowd directly now. They deserve to see what happens when you come onto a show expecting professional courtesy and instead get attacked by someone who's more interested in creating drama than conducting an actual interview. Several audience members nodded. A few even started clapping. Lorraine's face was purple now. "You don't speak to my audience. This is my show. My audience." "They're not your possessions, Lorraine," Judi said quietly. "They're people. People who tune in every day hoping to see something uplifting, something entertaining, something worthwhile. Instead, today, they got to watch you bully a guest because you're dealing with your own issues about aging." "I don't have issues about aging," Lorraine shouted. "Then why did you make it the centerpiece of this interview?" Judi asked. "I came here to talk about a film I'm proud of, a role I poured my heart into, a story I think matters. You turned it into an attack on my age before I'd been sitting for 2 minutes. If that's not your issue, whose is it?" Sarah Bennett tried one more time. "Dame Judi, I apologize if the questions came across as insensitive. That wasn't the intention." "Don't apologize for her," Judi said, not unkindly. "She's a grown woman. She can apologize for herself, if she chooses to." All eyes turned to Lorraine. The host stood there, hands on her hips, jaw clenched, looking like she was chewing on glass. "I have nothing to apologize for," Lorraine said finally. "I asked legitimate questions that any journalist would ask." "No journalist worth their salt would ask those questions," Judi countered. "No journalist with integrity would use someone's age as a weapon. You're not a journalist, Lorraine. You're a bully with a television show. There's a difference." "Get out," Lorraine said, her voice shaking with rage. "Get out of my studio right now." "Gladly," Judi said. She turned to Marcus and Sarah. "I wish you both the best. I hope you find the courage to work for someone who treats people with dignity." Then she turned to the audience. "Thank you for being here. I'm sorry your morning was disrupted by this ugliness. I hope you'll seek out the film when it's released. Not because I need your support, but because it's a beautiful story told by talented people who deserve recognition." The audience erupted in applause, not the polite golf clap of a talk show audience, but genuine, sustained applause. Several people stood up. Lorraine looked like she'd been slapped. "Sit down! All of you, sit down!" But the standing ovation continued. More people rose from their seats. The applause got louder. Judi gave a small bow, then turned and walked toward the exit. Her posture was perfect. Her head held high, every inch the dame she was. "You'll never work on television again," Lorraine shouted after her. "I have connections. I'll make sure everyone knows what you did here today." Judi paused at the studio door and turned back one final time. "Lorraine, darling, I've been working in this business since before you were born. I've survived critics, bad reviews, failed productions, and every challenge this profession can throw at someone. I think I'll survive being banned from your little morning show." "Little?" Lorraine sputtered. "This show reaches millions." "And after today, they all saw exactly who you are," Judi said. "Good luck explaining this to your producers. I imagine they'll have questions about why you chose to alienate one of the most respected actresses in Britain on live television. Should make for an interesting meeting." Sarah Bennett had tears in her eyes. Marcus Thompson looked shell-shocked. The audience was still applauding, some of them now cheering. Lorraine stood alone at her desk, isolated in her anger, watching her show spiral completely out of her control. "This isn't over," Lorraine yelled. "You can't just walk out of here like you've won something." "I haven't won anything," Judi called back. "But you've certainly lost something. Your credibility, perhaps. Your dignity, definitely. Your audience's respect. Absolutely. I don't need a washed-up actress to tell me about respect," Lorraine screamed. "Washed up?" Judi smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. "Is that really the best you can do? I expected better insults from someone who's supposedly so good at this." Marcus Thompson finally stepped forward, positioning himself between the two women, even though they were yards apart. Please, let's end this. For everyone's sake. It's already ended, Judi said. Ease the moment Lorraine decided to make this personal rather than professional, it was over. I simply made it official by refusing to participate further. She looked at Lorraine one last time. You know what the saddest part of all this is? You could have had a lovely interview. You could have asked about my process, my co-stars, the themes of the film, what it's like to bring a character to life. Instead, you chose to go for the cheap shot. You chose cruelty over curiosity. That says everything about you and nothing about me. With that, Dame Judi Dench walked out of the studio. The door closed behind her with a soft click that somehow sounded louder than all the shouting that had preceded it. The audience was on its feet now, every single person standing and applauding. The sound was deafening, a roar of support that filled every corner of the studio. Lorraine Kelly stood at her desk, her face a mask of fury and humiliation, so watching her show descend into chaos. Sarah Bennett was crying. Marcus Thompson looked like he wanted to disappear. "Cut to commercial!" Lorraine shouted at the crew. "Cut to commercial right now!" But the cameras kept rolling, capturing every moment. The applause continued, growing louder with each passing second. "My job," Lorraine said, her voice dripping with venom, "is to get to the truth. And the truth is that Judi Dench is an aging actress who can't accept that her time has passed. The truth is that she's irrelevant in modern cinema. The truth is, my job," Lorraine said, her voice dripping with venom, "is to get to the truth. And the truth is that Judi Dench is an aging actress who can't accept that her time has passed. The truth is that she's irrelevant in modern cinema. The truth is that she walked out because she couldn't handle being challenged." "Challenged?" a voice from the audience rang out. "You didn't challenge her. You insulted her." Lorraine whipped around to face the audience. "Who said that? Who dares to interrupt my show?" A middle-aged woman in the fourth row stood up. "I did, and I'm not the only one thinking it. We all saw what happened here. That wasn't journalism. That was cruelty." "Sit down," Lorraine ordered. "So sit down right now, or I'll have you removed." "Remove me then," the woman said. "I'd rather leave than watch you continue to justify what you did." Another audience member stood up. Then another. Then 5 more. Within seconds, half the audience was on their feet, and they weren't applauding. They were protesting. Lorraine's face went white. This is outrageous. You're audience members. You're supposed to be supportive. You're supposed to be on my side. Why would we be on your side?" an older gentleman called out from the back. "You just spent 15 minutes attacking someone for being old. Some of us here are old too. Did you think we'd appreciate that?" "I wasn't attacking old people," Lorraine said, her voice rising defensively. "I was asking about industry standards and career longevity." "You told her to step aside for younger actresses," a young woman in the second row said. "You told her she wasn't box office gold anymore. You dismissed her entire career as past tense. How is that not an attack?" Lorraine looked around wildly, searching for support from anyone. Her eyes landed on Marcus Thompson. "Marcus, tell them. Tell them I was just doing my job." Marcus took a deep breath. "Lorraine, I think maybe you should consider that you might have gone too far today." "What?" Lorraine's voice cracked. "You too? You're turning on me too?" "I'm not turning on you," Marcus said carefully. "I'm trying to be honest with you. As a colleague, as someone who's sat beside you for 2 years. What happened today wasn't your finest moment." "My finest moment?" Lorraine laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I've had thousands of finest moments. I've interviewed prime ministers and movie stars. I've covered royal weddings and national tragedies. I've won awards. I've built a legacy. One difficult interview doesn't erase all of that." "No," Sarah said quietly. "But it does make people wonder about all those other interviews. It makes us wonder how many other guests left here feeling the way Dame Judi did." How many others just didn't have the courage to walk out? Sarah, Lorraine's voice was a warning now, be very careful what you say next. Or what? Sarah met her gaze steadily. You'll fire me? You'll ruin my career? Do your worst, Lorraine. I'm tired of being scared of you. We're all tired of being scared of you. The audience applauded. The sound filled the studio, echoing off the walls, impossible to ignore. Lorraine spun to face her panelist, shock written all over her face. What did you just say to me? Sarah stood up, wiping the tears from her face. I said you crossed a line. Dame Judi was right. You ambushed her. You were cruel, and you're still being cruel, even after she's left. Sarah, you can sit down, Lorraine warned. No, Sarah said. I've sat quietly for 3 years on this panel, watching you tear people down, watching you prioritize drama over dignity. I told myself it was just the nature of the business, that this is how talk shows work. But this was different. This was personal. This was mean. Marcus Thompson cleared his throat. Sarah, maybe we should discuss this off camera. Why? Sarah turned to him. So we can pretend it didn't happen. So we can protect Lorraine's reputation at the expense of our own integrity. I'm done with that. I'm done being complicit. Complicit? Lorraine's laugh was bitter. You work for me. You're part of this show. If I go down, you go down with me. Then I guess we're going down, Sarah said, because I'd rather be unemployed than be part of this. The audience applauded again. Marcus Thompson looked torn between solidarity with his fellow panelist and self-preservation. His face was a study in internal conflict. Lorraine turned back to the camera, her professional mask slipping further with each passing moment. This is absurd. This is absolutely absurd. I will not be lectured by my own staff on my own show. I will not be booed by an audience that wouldn't even be here without me. And I certainly will not apologize for doing my job. Your job isn't to hurt people, Sarah said softly. Your job is to inform and entertain. You did neither today, and you just hurt someone who didn't deserve it. Lorraine's hands were balled into fists at her sides. Get out, both of you. Get out of my studio. You can't fire us on live television, Marcus said, finally finding his voice in defense of something. Watch me, Lorraine snarled. You're both fired. Effective immediately. Security will escort you out. Sarah picked up her notes and her bag. I was leaving anyway. I quit 10 minutes ago. I just wanted to say my piece first. She walked off the set to a standing ovation from the audience. Marcus hesitated for a moment, then followed her, his shoulders slumped, but his steps determined. Lorraine Kelly stood alone on her set, surrounded by empty chairs and an audience that had turned completely against her. The cameras kept rolling because this was live television, and there was nowhere to hide, no way to cut away, no escape from the reality of what had just happened. She tried to smile, tried to regain that morning show host charm she was famous for. Well, this has been quite a morning, hasn't it? When we come back, we'll have a cooking segment that I promise will be much more pleasant than what you've just witnessed. No one laughed. No one even smiled. The audience sat in their seats, arms crossed, staring at her with expressions ranging from disappointment to disgust. The floor manager gave the signal for a commercial break. The red light on the camera finally went dark. Lorraine collapsed into her chair. The audience filed out in silence. The crew began breaking down equipment, their faces carefully neutral. Judi Dench collected her things in the green room. Her hands were steady. She'd said what needed to be said. She'd stood up for herself, and for every actor who'd been told they were too old to deserve respect. As she walked through the corridor toward the exit, a young production assistant stopped her. That was incredible, the assistant whispered. Thank you for saying what we've all been thinking. Judi smiled. Someone had to. She stepped out into the morning air, leaving the studio behind.